All right. All right. All right. All right. What is up? What is up, YouTube boxing family? Welcome back to another great episode for the YouTube channel, and this will be uploaded to my podcast links. Check them down in the description below. But this is KRAD7435 here. I'm back with another good post-fight boxing live stream for you guys. I'm going to be covering the Jose Pedraza versus Richard Commey fight card. This is actually like a pretty lit fight card. I'm not gonna lie, there was like a lot of great knockout victories, and I definitely had a lot of fun watching the fights. There's only very few fights that I did enjoy. Other fights, I wasn't really a fan of the stoppage, and I wasn't a fan of, the referees not doing their jobs, properly. But yeah, let's get right into it, man. I'm just gonna cover this fight card, and then I'll get up out of here for you guys. First things first. Shout out to the mighty LDBC, and shout out to the TWT. Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to all the respective creators that be putting in that work, and hopefully I can get myself back on the journey, back to where I once was, back to 4,000 or more subscribers. So yeah, thank you guys for supporting my channel. More content constantly being uploaded to the channel, and more videos coming on the way. But yeah, let's get right into it, man. We're gonna get into the very, very first fight, to Mr. Dante Benjamin Jr. having a tremendous, sturdy test in front of him against late Leandro Silva. He had a 4-round unanimous decision victory. He is now, I believe, 4-0 with two knockouts out of his four victories. This is his second opponent that he's went the distance with, and I think this is a very good test for Dante. I actually do respect Dante's drive to get better. He's only 20 years old in the professionals. He came into the sport extremely young at 19, if I'm not mistaken. So a little over. Well, actually, no. Uh, Actually, yeah. He did. Yeah, he came into the sport at 19, because I remember he had his birthday back in May. So yeah, prior to that January, when he debuted on the Conceição versus Xavier Martinez card, yeah, that's when Dante made his mark, as a professional fighter. But yeah, it was a very, very good fight. I respect everything that Dante's doing. He's not like one of these weird, young, hungry fighters that doesn't learn from his past mistakes. And I felt like he did what he had to do to get the victory. I'm happy for him, and I hope he can continue to do bigger and better things. He had a very good test with Leandro Silva. For those of you that don't know, Leandro, he's a pretty sturdy fighter. He's more of like an MMA guy. He has more experience in that department. But I guess for the sake of the matter, this fight was more of like a gatekeeper type of fight. I don't think Leandro's going anywhere in boxing. He spent most of his career in MMA, and see, look, the thing about me is like I don't like the fact that MMA fighters come into boxing, but it's like if you're losing most of your fights and you're not like actually learning to win your fights better, then I don't see that to be very intelligent. I think it's best for you to just hang it up and find a different profession because I don't like to see guys that come into boxing like super late in their careers and they're not upgrading their skill set to avoid, you know, less punishment or more punishment. So either way, Silva he had a good outing with with Dante Benjamin. I mean, he doesn't have what the greatest record out there, but you know he's a decent fighter, so I definitely give him his props. But yeah, this is a very tough, rugged fight. Silva was being a bit dirty in this fight, so I don't give him any credibility as far as like he needs to stop doing that. But Benjamin, he was in there, you know, with a vet that knew, you know, how to survive. Yeah, so let's get right on to the second fight of the card. Mr. Abdullah Mason had a tremendous 4 round unanimous decision victory over Angel Rebelar. Um, he's a good fighter. He's not like the greatest fighter out there. He finally tasted defeat to Abdullah Mason. He's not like the like how should I say like Rebelar. He's a good like inside pressure style fighter, and I think he's only going to get better from this loss because it's good that you start out fighters young in their career. And the only thing that I had, you know, thought about Rebelar is just that he's just like a wild punching type of fighter. Um, you know, he's not like the greatest technical fighter out there yet, but you know, he's coming out pretty good in his career to like do the things that he's supposed to do. And I mean, he's only 5-1, so I mean, out of his 5 victories, he's only had 3 knockouts against guys that had winning. Well, yeah, the first guy that he stopped, he debuted the same day as him when he debuted back in July. And then that following opponent, that was a guy that was 0-1. And then his most recent stoppage was against a 5-0 guy, Juana Villa Medina. So, I mean, it's not bad, but it's like Rebelar, you know, we can obviously tell like he's been fighting like low level opposition. So he's not like the greatest fighter out there, but, you know, more so it seems like his natural weight is at 140 or 135. So I'm not too sure why he would fight, you know, Abdullah at 135 unless he is a natural 135 pounder. I think Rebelar he fights very well at 135, and I would like to see him once again because he has like a very similar style to Louis Coria. He's a super featherweight fighter that had been robbed a couple times in his career, but he has like a similar style to him. He needs to work more on his defense, but I think that'll come in due time. So hopefully sooner than later, we'll probably see him more in the future, and we'll probably do he'll probably do what's necessary for him to learn from his mistakes, and then he'll start elevating to a higher level. And that's why that I respect guys like him coming into the sport very young, because you know if you're made for if you're made for the professionals, and you want to like basically earn your stripes early in the sport, it's best to come in young. So therefore, you have more resume building experience. So therefore, people know who you are as a professional fighter. So I respect that out of Angel. It's good that he started his career down in Mexico. So therefore, he could start, you know, fighting guys that are you know around his skill level, and just keep constantly you know upgrading you know the competition slowly. So Abdullah Mason, that was a very, very good fight. Abdullah didn't have like the easiest fight with Angel. Angel did did catch him like a couple times coming in, but I think it was just like a very good, educational bout for both men, or for both young guys, because they're both 18 years old. But the thing about it is just that Abdullah Mason, he's a very very technical fighter, and he's only getting better. That's the thing though. Like Abdullah, he has so much to gain from fighting guys that are young, that are just as young as him. And the scary thing about it is, like, he doesn't fight like a reckless fighter. He fights like, he's like a veteran. And I respect that out of him, because that really shows that that the Mason family, they're getting better every time when they fight. And I think with all the connections that Abdullah Mason and his brother Amir, and I don't know who the other brother is. I think the other brother is some young fighter on the come up. I think he's an amateur right now, but I forgot what his name is. But all three of those brothers are very intelligent, and they have a very good mindset when boxing is done and what they do now in the sport. So, shout out to all three of those brothers. I definitely respect all of them. I may be a little bit critical at times towards certain brothers out of the family, but I mean, primarily it was towards Abdullah. But now that I see that he's actually getting way better, and he's not like getting hit with like unnecessary blows, and he's actually coming into his fights a lot more technically savvy with his defense and his shot selection. That just shows that Abdullah, he's not like any of these other fighters that puts himself in a bad position um, to be basically hyped up early in their career. He's actually building his tracks very, very slowly and very developmental. So shout out to Abdullah Mason, and shout out to the rest of the family. They're definitely getting better. So I'd like to see him back as soon as possible. And same thing with Angel. I think Angel's a very good up and coming fighter, even though this was his sixth fight. So that obviously shows that the younger generation of boxing, they're definitely earning their stripes early in the sport. So respect to these fighters, and hopefully they could get more economic traction or popularity on their side. But let's talk about the third fight on the card. We had Mr. Freevian Gonzalez, Mr. Papi Chulo out of Puerto Rico, out of Sidra. 21 years old. He is a Orthodox, if I'm not mistaken. He had upgraded his record, or elevated his record, to 6-1 with a stunning unanimous decision victory over Gerardo Esquivel. Gerardo, for those of you that don't know, he's not that much of a good fighter. He's only had like 3 fights so far, but he's a pretty decent, rough, rugged fighter. I didn't really respect him coming into this fight because Gerardo, he was fighting a bit dirty against Freevian. Um, the only problem that I had with this fight was that the referee took a point away against Freevian, simply because he was holding while he was hurt, but he wasn't excessively holding. He just did what he had to do, and he won the fight. So I don't know why, why boxing referees have to be so hyper strict against a fighter that's trying to fight smart. But it's like, in certain cases, like, that's how referees try to screw certain fighters over, because they want the other fighter to like get a political advantage, or something. So I don't know. But I think with Gerardo, he's like, he obviously proved that he's not a good fighter. I don't think he's a good fighter. I think he's a very dirty fighter. Even with his last fight, he had like a 7 rounder against some weird, some weird dude that I can't really, pronounce his name, but his name is Blawas Eagle Pipe. But he's not like, he's not fighting like high level killers. He's not like going up there in competition and actually fighting destructive names. So I mean, this is a good sturdy test. Gerardo doesn't really have that much power. and his punches. He did hit Freevian with some good solid shots, but Freevian Gonzalez, he's a tank. He knows what he's doing. I've seen him fight before at the Edgar Berlanga June 11th card. He did a amazing job. He dominated his opponent Refugio Montanalo. It was a good solid 4 round fight. I wish it was a little bit longer, but it was just a good fight for him to just get his feet wet and just get back into the ring activity column to elevate himself higher. But this is his seventh professional fight. His only loss came to the hands of Mr. Brian Lua. He's been hyper inactive prior to 2021. I don't know why that's the case. I think it's probably something to do with outside life, but it just sucks that Brian's like not able to like come back, or he hasn't been back since that victory. But uh, yeah, I mean Freevian, he's doing his thing. He's staying active. He's getting better every time when he fights, and yeah, like I'm happy for him, man, because I really do believe Gonzalez has a good chance of being a world championship level fighter, but it's only in due time. He's ranked 414 in the world, accordingly. Well, according to BoxRec, on at the super featherweight division. I don't know why they list him as a super featherweight. He's a lightweight, but with all the names here in the lightweight division, there's plenty of good guys that I like to see him in the ring with. But if we want to go like top 100 or top 400, let's try to say like maybe down the line like Humberto Galindo. I think that's a very good fight. He's a solid fighter. I'd like to see him fight Keyshawn Davis. I think him and Keyshawn will be the fight to make sometime in the future. Maybe him and Victor Padilla. Victor, he's actually been pretty active lately. He had a recent third round KO victory against Jesus Ramon Perez. Not the best fighter out there, but he knocked him out. That was a good, you know, that's a pretty good, decent veteran level victory. But I mean, either way, like Gonzalez, he has a lot of work to do. He has a lot of competition that he has to watch out for. The lightweight division is heating up. There's a lot of solid names here that I'm seeing right now where a lot of guys are starting to like really light up really fast. Guys like Antonio Williams and like I've heard about that one other Cuban dude, Armando Martinez Robbie. I've heard something about him, but I think that was the name that somebody told me in the past to watch out for. Pedro Valencia, he's a very good fighter. I've heard about him. Who else is good? I mean, there's so many names out here, especially in the American section. Alejandro Reyes, he's a 23-year-old fighter. Um, I mean, there's just plenty of guys. Angel Rodriguez, Anthony Cuba. He's also good too. There's just so many good names. Hey, salute to 86 Boxing. Salute to Mike Biggs Boxing. Thank you guys for coming by. Thank you guys. I appreciate every single one of you. But yeah, man, there's just so many big names that I could easily see Freebian go up against. And I think as far as the state of Puerto Rican boxing in the lightweight division, it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. Like the competition is hot. They're on fire. I mean, I could easily name some other Puerto Rican lightweights that are really good. I think Julio Solis and maybe Jacob Gomez. I think Jacob Gomez is a 140 pounder, but I might have to check that out. But yeah, there's plenty of good names on here, man. I could go on for days to talk about it, but at the end of the day, like Freeman Gonzalez, to me, he makes me think of a pure boxer. I think the biggest problem with him is that if he does not have power, then Freeman Gonzalez needs to work on keeping the fight to a pure boxing match. I think that's the biggest problem with Freeman Gonzalez. If he does not have power to keep opponents off of him, which it's clear as day to show, like his power does keep opponents away from him. But I guess like when we head into like a late game situation, we must, like basically we as boxing, boxing fans and students of the game that study the sport consistently, we have to understand that power doesn't help you win fights, but power plays a huge factor when you get up to the contender stage and when you get up to the world title stage. So when you get hit by guys that are heavy-handed punchers, especially those that know how to box with their power, that creates a deadly separation and skill set to the point where if you're not able to offset those mechanisms, that's going to put you in a really tough position of which, okay, look, if I don't have power but I know how to box, which way do you go? Do you try to bang with the power puncher or do you try to go all 12 rounds with the power puncher? Because the problem is this that if like if a guy like Freebian, if he can't keep a guy that's a heavy hitter off of him, then yeah, he'll very well get stopped, or he could just lose a really bad decision where he gets banged up the entire distance. So that's just something that I'm a little bit worried, like about. He's only had one KO so far, but I think it's only because that, he's still growing into his body. He's not, he's obviously not like showing his true potential yet, but maybe somewhere down the line, Freeman Gonzalez, he could do some damage. Like I'm not going to take him out of the conversation. Compared to any other fighter like a Josue Vargas, I don't see Josue being as good as he used to be. I think his career is not the same no more compared to any other up and coming Puerto Rican fighter. They do have potential. It's just that we have to see where the progression is and what's up the best form of matchmaking to bring them to the high level. But Freeman Gonzalez, he did good. Gerardo, like I said, he doesn't have that much power in his punches, but when he was hurting Freebian, he wasn't really hurting him flush. And Freebian, he took those shots very well, and he had a very good backup plan to offset those shots that he was getting hit with. So he did a good job. There's really nothing I could really say anything bad about his performance. He did what he had to do. It was a good, sturdy test for him to get better and just get rounds in. And that's something that I respect out of Freeman. He, he's learning on the job, but he's getting better every single performance. So shout out to Mr. Freeman Gonzalez. So yeah, let's move on with the next fight with Kelvin Davis versus Sebastian Gabriel Chavez. For those of you that don't know, I believe Sebastian Gabriel Chavez, he's related to Diego Chavez. That was a former opponent of Keith Thurman back in the day. But that was pretty interesting that I heard something like about that. But yeah, Gabriel Chavez, he's a good fighter. He got stopped, in his last fight against Delonte Tiger Johnson that fought on the card, but he surprisingly went the distance with Kelvin Davis. I thought Kelvin was going to stop him in this fight. I wasn't really so sure if Kelvin was really going to have the ability to stop him early or stop him late. But it was a pretty good fight. Either way, Kelvin did his thing. He doesn't look like a shot fighter. He doesn't look like he's afraid to let his hands go. The only thing I'm concerned about Kelvin is his chin. I think Kelvin has kind of proven that he could pack a punch, but the biggest takeaway from it with Kelvin is just that his chin is very hittable to the point where I can easily see like a power puncher really stopping him because he does leave his chin wide open in certain exchanges where he thinks he's going to knock you out, but if you just time your shot right, there's a good solid chance where Kelvin could very well get stopped. But I think that's where Kelvin he comes into the equation where he wants to stop you, but he's now taking his time when he goes out there to fight. He doesn't just go out of his way and just start blowing dudes out. But I think either way, he's a good fighter. It's just that he just needs to keep improving and just keep doing the things that he needs to do. I think it's just because that Kelvin, he's not like a hyper seasoned fighter yet, and he came into the sport a little bit late. He started his career, if I'm not mistaken, back in 2020. That was during the start of COVID, or I guess like during the whole lockout session. But yeah, he debuted back in 2020, and ever since then, he's won one, two, three, four, five, yeah, six fights. So, I mean, he's a good, solid fighter. I mean, he has skills. It's just that, he just needs to keep on improving, and I think that's where we could get more knowledge about Kelvin, and then we could start seeing him rise up to the expectations more. So great victory. I mean, Sebastian Chavez, he was a sturdy opponent. He gave Kelvin some work, but I think Kelvin figured it out pretty quickly. And as much as I don't really respect the fact that he's working with Bomac, and as much as I don't like Terrence Crawford anymore and his team, I don't think Bomac is really that good of a trainer. So I don't I don't know what Kelvin's gonna be doing in the future, but hopefully sometime down the road he could probably find like a better trainer. I think if he had like a guy like a, I don't know, like a Derek James or like a Manny Robles, like somewhere down the line where he has a very good trainer that actually works with the skills and abilities, I think Kelvin can easily dominate, a lot of fights easier. But I just don't think Bomac is like the right, trainer for the mathematical like equation that's coming into the factoring. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Great victory overall. I'd like to see Kelvin back in the ring as soon as possible, but that was a good performance. He definitely balled out in this fight. Let's talk about the next fight with Jeremiah Milton versus Nick Jones. This is a great heavyweight matchup. Jeremiah Milton knocked out Nick Jones in the second round. Um, this is a good fight. Milton, I'm not really too sold on him. I mean, he's a decent heavyweight, and the problem that I have with Milton is that he's a very slow heavyweight. He has to think a lot when he formulates his shots, and I don't really think Milton is like the greatest fighter out there. I mean, he does have power. There's no doubt about it. But the problem is just that when he formulates his shots, he goes in there with the mentality to think that his opponents are not going to hit back and actually give him like a tough fight. And I think that's where Milton's downfall will begin, because when you look at Milton as a fighter, he's a good, solid power punching heavyweight. But I think once you bring it to like a higher standard where he's actually put in a much deeper position, I think that's where Milton will start to fall more as a heavyweight. And I would like to just see him more active because, prior to 2020, um, I mean, he was a little bit active, but that was only for two fights, and then 2021 he only fought once. That was like back on April 10th. I think that was on the Michaela Mayer card, or whatever. But actually, no, that was like a different card. Sorry, but basically, yeah, predating to now, he's been active. Pretty solid. He was active on January, and then fast forward to June 11th, and then obviously recently with the recent Jose Pedraza card, so that was back in August. So I mean, hopefully we get to see him soon. I just don't like the major cutoff in time, because I think what the problem with Milton is just that either if he's doing business with Top Rank only, he's only getting fights that Top Rank offers to him, with like the next available dates. So I like the fact that he's staying busy, but the problem is like he's 28 years old, so he needs to start building up his career a lot faster if he's trying to get up to the world title stage. But I think Milton, he's gonna get set up with big fights soon. He needs to start winning and start doing a lot more higher scaled matchups. And I think eventually in due time, Milton, he'll start to do the things that he needs to do to actually be a potential player in the heavyweight division. So credit to Jeremiah Milton. That was a good performance. I'd like to see him back again. So yeah, let's move forward with the next fight. We have Mr. Fa Ajagba destroying Joseph Darmos. This is a very easy fight for Fa. He just beat the crap out of this guy, stopped him in 2 rounds. I don't have too much to say about this, but Fa Ajagba deserves a much harder opponent. I didn't really appreciate the fact that he fought some old 38 year old looking Euro bum that no one heard of, and I don't think Darmos is that good of a fighter. Actually, yeah, he's 35, but or no, he's 37. Sorry, but he's not that good. He doesn't have that much how should I say traction in his career. He got stopped in his last fight by Alfonso Lopez. I have no clue who he is, but yeah, it pretty much shows you who he is. He fights to the level of his competition, and he's not that good of a fighter. He's 14-5 now with 3 draws, so I don't see anything good coming out of his career, and maybe hopefully sometime in the future maybe he'll try to get some journeyman fights. But at this stage of your career, getting blown out by a 28-year-old heavyweight fighter that shouldn't have been in the ring with him in the first place, yeah, that pretty much speaks for itself. Fa, he's not he's not doing any better justice fighting a low level bum. So I didn't really like that fight. I think honestly, like Fa should have fought somebody credible like a Jermaine Franklin, or somebody that's gonna give him a fight. Because I know Fa, he's gonna get matched up tough again, but it's like who, out of all these heavyweights, I like personally for me, like I would like to see Adam Stewart beat up on Fa Ajagba, because I think Adam Stewart would destroy Fa, Ajagba. And if you guys don't know who Adam Stewart is, I suggest you go take a look at him on Skywalker Boxing, aka Tim, Mr. Skywalker. He had an interview with him, and I was a part of it, and we chopped it up pretty well, with him. But Adam Stewart, he's definitely a very, very good, solid heavyweight. I think Adam Stewart will start to shock a lot of people more when he starts to get these fights, sealed and delivered. But it's going to be interesting to see where Stewart, goes within his career. But I like to see, I like to see Fa go up against a guy like him. So maybe sometime in the future, when we see Fa back in the ring, that will be a good fight to see somewhere down the line. But that's those are my thoughts on that. Let's move forward with the next fight. We got Mr. Delante Tiger Johnson destroying Harry Gigilati. I wasn't really too sold on Harry. I never really thought of him to be that good of a fighter, but this is a pretty decent fight. I mean, he's never been stopped. He lost to some solid level guys like Antonio Williams. He lost to Aaron Aponte, and who else did he lose to? Um, oh, Chris Jacobs. Yeah, he's a pretty decent fighter, but he's not that good himself. But yeah, he's a, like, how should I say, he's like a gatekeeper type of fighter. I don't think his scaling is really going up anywhere higher to that level. But either way, Harry, he got stopped for the very first time. It wasn't like a actual, like, destructive stoppage. His corner, I think, threw in the towel, and Delante Johnson, he just beat the crap out of him, man. He whipped him and he just sent them to, he sent them to the nether realm. He just took a soul away, and Harry is just not that good of a fighter. So I've never really thought of Harry to be that good. I've seen him a couple times, but once I started to like actually like look at his fights, he's like any other you know typical white fighter. I don't really like to bring race into the conversation, but the problem with him is just that he hasn't really done anything hyper spectacular. um he doesn't really put himself in position to fight high level guys. And I mean, knowing that Tiger Johnson is he is an up and coming welterweight in the division, that pretty much explains for itself. Like, Harry was basically called up to get beat up on on the next up and coming dudes. But I don't think it's really him. I think it's just due to the fact that his style doesn't really meet the level of what people want to see out of the high level fighters. But I think these names that I mentioned, getting stopped by Delonte Johnson, of course, Tiger Johnson, he's a beast. But losing to Antonio Williams, in which he's a good fighter himself. Nobody's really talking about him yet, but he's a good fighter. He has skills. Uh, but losing to those level type of like opponents, that's a really really good look to show that Harry, he's a good decent fighter, but he's not like the greatest fighter out there. So I mean, there's really nothing to really be mad about. It's just that Harry, he's just really not that type of dude to really put himself in position to really take out anybody notable per se. But yeah, this actually was interesting because if I'm not mistaken, this fight was set up for 140. So I find it weird that Delonte Johnson would go down to 140 because if I'm not mistaken, like he looks way better. He looks way better at the welterweight division. But I don't really see why he should go down a junior welterweight. I don't think that's a really good start of his career to campaign at. I think he should really test out the waters at the welterweight division. But I think that's probably what he's gonna do. He's gonna see how far or how long he could stay at 140, and then he'll move up to 147 eventually. But I mean, he does fight at like these these little catch weights. So I don't know what Delonte Johnson is planning on doing, but I think, to me at least, he looks way better at 147 compared to 140. But we'll find out. Now let's talk about the next fight with Richard Torres Jr. versus Marco Antonio Canedo. I was very disappointed in this fight. Nothing against Marco Antonio Canedo. He tried his best, I guess, but he just didn't do anything spectacular. He got knocked out with a pretty good, left hook, right hook combination. And Richard Torres, I don't know if I could really say he's gonna be that good, but I don't know, man. I think Richard Torres, he's a knockout waiting, he's a knockout victim waiting to happen. I don't think Richard is that good. I think how everything is being set up for him is that Top Rank is really trying to make like I don't know if you guys can like agree. I think Top Rank is trying to make Richard into another Tommy Morrison, but they're trying to like slowly build him up to a level of which he could actually be good, and then they're going to try to like paint him as like as like the next great white American hope. And even though Richie, he's like a white, I guess I think he's like Mexican, but he's also white too. So I mean, either way, like I don't have anything like against him. It's just that, to me, as like a boxing fan, looking in, I don't know, man. I think Richie needs to stop being hyped up right now. He needs to take his time, man. he needs to just be matched up with guys that are just as good as him, and let's see how good he is. I don't think Richie is that good yet, and I mean, there's nothing bad that I say, like about that. I just think Richard Torres, he has a lot of building to do, and that's very much my actual thoughts. 86 Boxing said that knockout was brutal. It was a severe mismatch. Yeah, it was, man. I felt bad for Kaneda because I don't really have anything bad to say about the I guess like guess like the fight, but I guess like as far as let the support, let the medical support team that didn't do their job. I think let the medical support team did a really horrible job, and Richard Torres was basically just gifted some form of like a I don't know, just like a highlight reel knockout to the point which no one cared about Kanedo's health, and everybody was just all hyped up, about him stopping him. But it's like Kanedo was looking like he was about to die. Like I don't know if you guys can like agree with that, but it just didn't feel right with me. And as much as knockouts are impressive to see, I don't I don't want to spend like my money to see somebody get floored like that. So for for anybody listening, I just for me at least, I look out for the safety of fighters, and I would like to see a fighter go home healthy and safe, and they could live to see like another day. But I think the referee should have stopped that fight a lot sooner, and they should have had like a better medical support team where they gave him oxygen, they gave him plenty of water fluid, because he definitely looked like he was about to die. And I just don't understand why nobody from Kanedo's corner actually even came in try to help him up. And I don't even know who really was there to to even notify anybody, because they try to act like as if like, oh, don't worry, Kanedo's gonna be okay. Just pick him back up, put him up on a stool, and then he'll be all right. No, like, like what the guy looks like the guy looks like he's about to die. So I don't know, man. I think that was a horrible medical responsibility, uh, or that was a horrible medical irresponsibility done by the commission and by the team that was set up to organize, the fight for, for like a guy like him to get stopped that bad. I think there should be some form of of an investigation on that. That was just horrible, horrible refereing, and that was horrible management, of taking care of Kanedo's health. And surprisingly, I guess it was expected to be said that Kanedo, he also has like another fight scheduled soon back in Mexico, but I think that's like coming up. I think like within like a day or so. But after him getting floored like that, or getting beat up to to like a bloody pulp like that, I would say no. He should he should be suspended. He should be, sat out for like a good 5 6 months, and then if he's able to to go back into the ring, then go for it. But I just don't like to see people like that to get knocked out brutally like that, and then they're gonna go back home and try to fight try to fight once again. Nah, screw that shit, man. I don't like that, man. That's just absolutely horrible. Very poor, commitment from from the commission to help him out. And whoever was really organizing that planning should definitely be held like accountable. 86 Boxing said, no, I agree. His eyes were glazed, similar to the case with Patrick Day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a very good point. When Patrick Day got brutally knocked out by Charles Conwell, rest in peace to Patrick Day. But Patrick Day looked like he was about to die. He didn't look like a natural, like he didn't look like he was naturally just put to sleep, and he was gonna like get back up and look okay. Now he actually looked sedated. He looked like his body was gonna give was gonna basically shut down on him, and he looked like he was about to die. So similar to that situation, I think Kaneda, he needs serious medical like attention, and I would send him to the nearest hospital, and he needs to take a lot of time off. I don't care, like, if I was managing, his team, or if I was like working in some, commission board, like I would suspend him. I don't care, like, fighters that get knocked out brutally like that, like people that get knocked out in general should have some form of a temporary suspension, and then you could go back into fighting after you pass like some form of like a medical procedure to make sure that you're fully, back in shape to actually fight again, because it's like stuff like that could easily cause a lot of fighters to get killed like that. And like, boxing, is like a very dangerous sport. So people that go through stuff like that, they could easily get themselves killed. um yeah, but 86 boxing said, I agree in it being a poor job as far as how they handle it. Yeah, like, it was just sad, man. I just, I was like, extremely, mad and pissed off, when I just saw that happen. But it was absolutely horrible, and I would not like to pay my hard-earned money to go see a fight like that, and somebody almost gets killed, on the spot, and that would be very sad. But yeah, congratulations to Richard. I'm not sold on his skills yet. I think with Richard is just that, he's been fed, a lot of like low level opposition lately, where he's just been fed low level opposition as of now just to look good. So I don't like to see these type of, handpicked opponents where Richard is just coming out here trying to get knockouts. But I don't think Richard is really going that far. I think what Top Rank is really trying to do, they're trying to like make another like Tommy Morrison, like, Great White Hope type of fighter. And I don't like it, like, I don't like to, like, to paint Richard as that. I think Richard can go far, but he's not going to be like a world championship level fighter per se, unless like Top Rank tries to like set him up, with like a belt, like they always do with all their fighters, where they try to play it safe to be careful with all the fighters that they match you up with. But then once it's time for you to go for like a world title, they try to, like, they try to give you like the easiest path to a title, which isn't always true, because every title fight that any fighter goes through, that's always going to be tough. But if you're not that good to begin with, your skills are going to show, within, the ring. So I think when Richard starts to, you know, uh, um, when he starts to elevate his competition a lot higher, I think Torres will start to understand that he's not like the same fighter as he once, like, no, as he once was in the amateurs, and I think his style will start to be exposed more by deadlier opposition. 86 Boxing said, with the experience that Torres had as an amateur, he shouldn't be facing these type of guys. We see guys from Uzbekistan and other areas fast tracking. Yeah, and that's a good point that you mentioned. If you look at the fight that he had with Jalalov, I think that type of style is going to hurt Richard in the future, because when Richard starts to get hit, and he starts to get hit with like flush shots that will actually hurt him, I think that's when Richard will start to understand that, his power doesn't carry into the late game. And I think like once he starts facing like pure technically driven boxers, I think it's game over. I just don't think Richard is just this type of guy where he comes into his fights where he's gonna look good, but then the minute you crack him and the minute you brutally hurt him, it's just, it's just not going to be like the same fighter. I think Richard will start to show a lot more holes in his game when people are coming back to fight back, and then when they actually hurt him and like immobilize him in a fight, I think Richard will be put, in a much worse position than for what most people would not, really expect out of him. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much how I see it. Hey, salute to you, Combat Toolbag. Yo, click the link, bro. Come join up. On the panel. Uh, yeah, salute to Combat Toolbag. He's a professional fighter. He just recently had his first fight not too long ago. But yeah, go check out that link. He's a very very good fighter. He has his own channel, and he's a he's a good up and coming fighter. But yeah, salute to Combat Toolbag. Thank you for coming through, and salute to you, Mr. 86 Boxing, for coming through. Mike Biggs, Jose Diaz, and everybody else that's probably watching. I like doing these type of post fight, live shows, and I'm gonna continue to keep on doing them, and get my channel back on top, man. I was at 4,000 subscribers, 3.1 million channel views, so I'm definitely coming back on top. Uh, so yeah, let's talk about the co-main event and the main event, and I'm gonna be out of here. Um, the co-main event with Jared Big Baby Anderson versus Miljan Ravkanen, the Serbian fighter. He was dethroned finally by Mr. Jared Big Baby Anderson after he had a 3-fight current win streak. He knocked out his last 2 out of 3 recent opponents. But he had a decision back in December of that 2021. But then leading up to now, he got stopped by Jerry Big Baby Anderson. This was a pretty good, decent fight. Um, I didn't really, I didn't really think Jared Anderson came into this fight like 100% ready. I mean, he did look good. Don't get it twisted. Jared Anderson has skills, but the thing about him is that he's been put up against fighters for the sake of him looking good for what he can do to you. Now, when we look at the heavyweight division, um, Jared Big Baby Anderson is one of those heavyweights where either he could easily take over the heavyweight division or he could very well get blown out very quickly. And by looking at the style that he presents in the heavyweight division, um, I think Jared Anderson is the type of guy where he could very well make a lot of noise. But the thing is that if you're looking good against guys that we know that you could easily stop, then there shouldn't be any excuse for you to step up your opposition, at least to the top 50, where I would believe Jared Anderson could potentially be. See, now, when we look at Jared Big Baby Anderson, he is now 12-0. He has stopped every single opponent up to date. He's never gone the distance with any fighter. He's basically stopped most of his opposition within 3 to 4 rounds. He's never seen any fight to the full distance. He's always knocked out everybody. And I mean, he could pack a punch. He's a good ass fighter. The thing about Jared Anderson is just that he's just the type of guy where what he's going to do to you. But the thing is that he's only looking good for what we could speculate to say that he could very well take over the division just because he's beating up on guys that we don't know. But looking at the list on BoxRec, there's a lot of good names here that I'd like to see him face. Um, I think he should face a guy like Jermaine Franklin, which this would have been a way better fight because Jermaine Franklin, for those of you that don't know, he's a very good fighter. He just recently fought back in May. He had a 5th-round TKO victory over Rodney Moore. Not the greatest fighter out there, but a decent fighter. But yeah, he stopped him. Good, decent opponent. Had some decent power. But Jermaine Franklin would be that guy to probably give Jared Anderson a very difficult test. Not only because he is a very big, brawlic heavyweight, just like Jared Big Baby, but I think the power and the destructive pressure fighting that Jermaine Franklin specializes in, that's what's going to make Jared Big Baby Anderson be put in a bigger corner where we're going to start seeing Jared Anderson go through deep waters. And I think that's a good fight. I also like to see him and Andrew Tabiti fight each other. Andrew Tabiti had his fight recently, not too long ago, on the AJ Usyk, undercard. That was out in Saudi Arabia. He knocked out, or he stopped James Wilson, who was undefeated. He's a decent fighter, but not the greatest fighter. But he looked pretty good at heavyweight. I think Andrew Tabiti would be a pretty good, solid matchup. I think him and Jared Anderson, they would definitely have a major chess match, between each other. And I think with Andrew Tabiti is just that he has a lot more experience than Jared Anderson would bring to the table. But the problem that I would think that Andrew Tabiti would face against Jared Big Baby Anderson would be the size differential, because even though his opponent that he recently fought on the AJ Usyk card wasn't as big as him, he still had a little bit of problems trying to exert his power all the way. So I think the size differential will be a major factor when Andrew starts to hyper step it up to all the bigger names in the heavyweight division. But Andrew Tabiti looks like he could be a very good solid player in the heavyweight division. Um, I like to see a fight with him and Dakari Mack Truck Scott. I think him and Mack Truck would be a flame matchup. For those of you that don't know who Dakari Scott is, he's a very good up and coming heavyweight fighter. He just recently, got defeated by Jonathan Guidry. He unfortunately gassed out in that fight against him, which got him stopped. But he's a good fighter. He's not like a bum. He definitely has skills. It's just that the only problem that Dakari Scott really presents is just that his stamina definitely needs like a lot of work. But I think that was a good experience for him to actually have 2 10 rounders back to back. And unfortunately, that even though that he did get stopped by Jonathan Guidry, that was a very good fight experience builder for him, because Jonathan Guidry, he's the type of guy where he's a rough, rugged heavyweight. But the thing about him is Jonathan Guidry, he's not that good of a fighter where he's gonna start blowing dudes out, but he's going to be like that type of guy where he's like gatekeeper status, where he's either going to give you a tough fight or he's going to make it a tough fight, and you could either stop him or he could stop you. But I mean, even in his last fight against Trevor Bryan, he was struggling very, very hard against Trevor Bryan, and Trevor Bryan was giving him some hard, heavy blows, and he actually downed him in round 12 in that fight. But many still said that Jonathan Guidry could have won that fight against Trevor Bryan. But I actually thought Trevor won that fight. I thought he won 7 rounds to 5. And I'm not saying that because he's from my area, but shout out to Albany, New York. But yeah, I mean Trevor Bryan, that was a very good performance by Mr. Guidry, and for him to stop Dakari Scott heading into the next fight to be in position for the WBA title, that definitely speaks a lot of volume. So, that's going to be very interesting to see what Jonathan Guidry does in his up and coming fights. But yeah, he's a very, very good opponent that I'd like to see Jared Big Baby Anderson face as well. And I probably say finally, another good opponent that I'd like to see Jared Anderson face would be, um, hmm, I like to see Mr. I like to see Mr. Daniel Dubois. I think Daniel Dubois would be a very good opponent, because if you think about it, if Jared Anderson can beat a guy like Daniel Dubois, that would put him in major position to be a champion. But on top of that, he will have the opportunity to face any of the top heavyweights at the top 5 or top 10. That being out, guys like AJ, Alexander Usyk, Deontay Wilder. I'm not too sure what Usyk and AJ will be doing, but I think if Jared Anderson could beat a guy like Daniel Dubois, that'll speak a lot of volume about his skill set. Because if you could stop him and you could beat him in devastating fashion, that's going to make your name skyrocket a lot bigger in the heavyweight division. So I think Daniel Dubois is going to be a target for a guy like him. And I think another good fight for Jared Big Baby Anderson would also be I think another good fight would be against a guy like Filip Ergovich, Otto Wallin, Tony Yoka, Ali Demirzin, uh, maybe Murat Gassiev. I don't think Gassiev is like the best fighter out there, but he's a decent heavyweight. He's not like the greatest heavyweight, but that's a good experience builder fight. I mean, if you want to go after, guys like Zeli Zong or Charles Martin, go for it. That's those are amazing matchups. I wouldn't mind an Adam Kaunaki fight. I think he would fold. Like a guy like a guy like Adam Kaunaki, uh, George, Arias. I think he would beat the crap out of George Arias, and I wouldn't mind a fight against Jarrell Big Baby Miller. I think Jarrell Miller would be a pretty good, decent fight. He's undefeated, so that's a good feat for Jared Big Baby Anderson to pad a good victory like that under his resume. So I don't know. The options are very, very high for Mr. Jared Big Baby Anderson. But as far as what he should do, he should just continue on getting better. I think it's just time for him to just start uh, you know start upgrading his competition a lot more. 86 bucks and said Bogdan Dinu. Wait, wait a minute. Bogdan Dinu, isn't he a cruiserweight? Hold on. Actually, no. I think he's a heavyweight. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Yeah, Bogdan Dinu. Oh, Bogdan Dinu. Yeah, Dinu. Bogdan Dinu. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He's that Romanian guy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't want to see that fight. I think Jared Anderson should go after any young heavyweight that's like in the top 100 or top 50. But Bogdan Dino, I guess if you want to say that's going to be a good fight for him to just put himself in a good position, because he did challenge Daniel Dubois for the WBA interim championship back in 2021, and then he unfortunately got stopped later in his next fight recently to Kevin Lorena. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see where Jared Anderson will be, because either I think a fight with him and Ergovich would be a very good fight to be made. I'd like to see that fight. I don't see why Ergovich would not want that fight if he can't put himself in position to be a mandatory, which that's what I heard, because by the IBS recent announcements, I thought that fight between him and Zeli Zhang, that was supposed to be the world title eliminator spot to be the mandatory. So I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what the IBF is going to do. But if Ergovich is going to be the mandatory, then I'd say the next best available opponent for Jared Big Baby Anderson is to go after a guy like Adam Kaunaki, Daniel Dubois. Definitely take out Dubois. He could easily beat up Daniel Dubois. Uh, Go after Martin Bacoli. Take out Frank Sanchez. I think he would wipe the floor on Frank Sanchez. Um, I think Jared Anderson, he's in a good position right now. He really doesn't have that really he doesn't have any limitations of which route he can go. But as we're seeing right now, he's a top 100 heavyweight, and there's so much opposition that's coming up. See, now a fight that I would be very, very scared for him to fight would be up against that Cuban dude. For those of you that don't know, Lanier Pero, uh, he's a beast. He just recently had a knockout victory against Joe Caldo, in which he's not like the best heavyweight fighter, but Yeah, he knocked him out pretty bad. Very, very good fighter. He fought on the Omar Figueroa, Sergey Limpinets, undercard, and he looked absolutely insane. So um, that's a very, very tough, heavy-handed puncher that I would definitely be, a little bit cautious of, even though he's a southpaw. He's 6'4.5", 79 inch, arm reach. I think Pero is going to give Jared Anderson a run for his money. But other than that, that's pretty much it with the heavyweight division. There's really not that many, you know, good heavyweights that I could see coming up. I mean, Sonny Kanto maybe, he might do some damage, but heading forward. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I definitely will look forward to seeing Adam Stewart. I think he'll do some damage, and then after that, that's pretty much it. I don't really see that many other good fighters coming up. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, let's talk about the main event, and then I'll get up out of here. Jose Pedraza versus Richard Commey. I thought this fight was Jose Pedraza's fight. I thought he won this fight. I didn't think Richard Commey won this fight at all. I find it surprising that he would be given a draw, but I thought this fight was clearly um, Pedraza's fight to win. I scored it 7 rounds to 3. I didn't think Pedraza lost that many rounds. I thought Comey was like the fighter to be less, to be less desirable to try to win any rounds, and he looked very tired at the later portion of those rounds, especially in the championship rounds. And I thought Pedraza he did his thing to win. So I don't know what would happen. I think Pedraza should go ahead and rematch Richard Comey, but I don't know what Top Rank would definitely like. I don't know what Top Rank would do in in setting up a next potential rematch between them. But if they do have like a rematch, I'd probably say make that rematch by late fall or early winter. Definitely by December. But that's very much it of what I have to say about that. I thought Comey looked a little bit better with his power, but his power definitely did not carry all the way through. I thought Pedraza was up a more heavily decorated fighter, and he showed a lot more levels to the game than Richard did. And I thought Pedraza, he looked to be the more superior, devastating fighter. So yeah, he did get pieced up a bit, and he definitely got hurt a couple times. But Pedraza, he's a very heavily experienced veteran fighter, and I thought he did a very very good job in handling the situations in certain rounds to get the victory. So yeah, shout out to Jose Pedraza. I thought he won the fight, and shout out to Richard Comey. He did a very good job, but it just wasn't like enough for him to win, in my honest opinion. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, especially to be published on the podcast as well. So be sure to go check me out on the podcast. I have more links to the podcast, so my expansion is definitely growing a lot faster. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys. Be sure to like, rate, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to share this video. Do what you got to do. And that's about it, man. I will see you guys later. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. So yeah, definitely drop your links to every single one of you guys. 86 Boxing, Combat Tool Bag. I know Jose Diaz. I don't think he has a channel, but Mike Biggs. If you want to drop your link, go right ahead. Please do it. Do what you got to do. But yeah, man, this was a very good episode, and I can't wait to keep on doing more of these type of shows. I enjoy doing podcast episodes. I kind of wish they were live, kind of like a radio broadcast, because I would easily get a lot of traffic doing that. But knowing that I just upload episodes, that's pretty much how I do it. So yeah, like I try to do the best I can to try to upload like an episode at least like once a week. so that way people can have something to listen to. Because if I do it like every day, like I don't know, like even though that I do have it labeled as like a sports and gaming, podcasting channel, I will come out with other gaming ones. But I think for now the sports ones are always like the best topics that I like to do. But either way, I'll keep coming up with more ideas, and I got like a lot of ideas in store to share. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for coming through. And yep, until next time, I will see you guys later. And salute to the mighty LDBC, and then salute to the TWT. And I'm out. This is KRAS 7435 signing out. Thank you, and goodbye.